In today's Reddit story, my wife thought she could cheat and walk away rich. She demanded half of my business, alimony, and my house. Her lawyer smirked, thinking they had me trapped. Then mine stood up and said, "Your Honor, we have a signed prenup and surveillance footage." The entire courtroom went silent. I should have seen the signs. Looking back now, they were all there, staring me in the face. But when you trust someone, when you love them, you never think they'd stab you in the back while smiling to your face. Jessica and I had been married for 7 years. She wasn't just my wife, she was my partner, my best friend. Or at least, that's what I thought. She'd always been the charming one. The type of woman who could walk into any room and have everyone wrapped around her finger within minutes. I was more of a quiet, hard-working guy. I built my own company from the ground up, a tech startup that turned into a multi-million-dollar business. Jessica never worked a day in our marriage. That was our agreement. You focus on your dreams, babe, and I'll take care of the house. At the time, I thought it was fair. I wanted her to have the life she wanted, so I provided everything. She drove a brand new luxury car. She had a personal trainer. She spent thousands on shopping sprees. She had zero financial worries, and I never complained because I thought that was what a good husband was supposed to do. Then, one night, everything changed. I was working late at the office when my phone buzzed. A text from a mutual friend. "Hey man, is Jessica out of town? Because I swear I just saw her at the Orchid with some guy." The Orchid, a high-end restaurant. I frowned. Jessica had told me she was staying home that night. I texted back. "Are you sure it was her?" Dude, she was 2 feet away from me, and she wasn't acting like a married woman. My stomach dropped. I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was just a friend. But the next morning when I casually asked, "Hey, what'd you do last night?" Jessica lied to my face. "Oh, nothing. Just watched some Netflix and went to bed early." That's when I knew. She was hiding something, and I was going to find out exactly what it was. I didn't say anything right away. I played it calm. But that night, after she went to sleep, I checked our shared bank account. Everything looked normal, until I noticed something odd. A $2,800 charge at the Orchid. My heart pounded in my chest. Jessica didn't have her own credit card. We had one shared account. So where the hell did this charge come from? The next day, I checked the mail before she could. And there it was. A credit card bill in her name, from a bank we'd never used before. And the balance? Over $15,000, all spent in the last 6 months. I wasn't stupid. Jessica wasn't just treating herself. She was spending on someone else. So I checked her phone records. There was a single number that showed up constantly. Late at night, random times during the day, always deleted from her call history, but still logged in the phone bill. I called the number. It went straight to voicemail. "Hey, you've reached Matt. Leave a message." Matt. Who the hell was Matt? I could have confronted her then, but I wanted real proof. Something undeniable. So I did 2 things. I hired a private investigator. I installed security cameras in the house, and what I found? It wasn't just cheating, it was calculated. Jessica wasn't just having an affair, she was planning her exit strategy. The private investigator got photos and video evidence. Jessica and Matt, a corporate lawyer she'd been seeing for nearly a year. She wasn't just cheating, she was building a case against me. Text messages. "He works too much, I'm basically alone anyway." Emails to her lawyer. "I need to make sure I get my fair share." Conversations caught on camera. "Once I get half the business, we can finally start our life together." That's when it all clicked. She had no idea about the prenup. She thought she was about to cash out, and that's when I started planning my own revenge. Jessica thought she was untouchable. She thought she had the perfect plan. She thought I was too busy, too trusting, too blind to ever figure it out. But she had no idea what was coming. I wasn't just going to prove she was cheating. I was going to destroy her entire plan before she even knew I was onto her. Hiring a private investigator wasn't cheap, but neither was handing over half my business, my house, and my money to a cheating, scheming wife. I gave the PI one job. Get me proof. I don't want suspicions. I don't want theories. I want evidence. And within a week, I had more than enough. Photos of Jessica and Matt sneaking into a hotel together. Videos of them having dinner, holding hands, acting like couple. Screenshots of Matt buying her gifts, a $5,000 bracelet, expensive designer bags. The most sickening part? Matt was a divorce attorney. Jessica wasn't just cheating, she was building a legal case against me while sleeping with the guy helping her do it. The PI was one piece of the puzzle, but I needed something undeniable, something I could use in court. So I installed security cameras in my own home. Jessica had no clue, and within days, the cameras caught everything. Jessica, on the phone. He's so clueless, I could tell him I'm at yoga and he wouldn't question it. Jessica, to Matt, in our living room. Once I get half his business, we're set. We'll have enough to move wherever we want. She had already decided how to spend my money. She wasn't planning on just leaving me. She was planning to gut me financially and then ride off into the sunset. With her lawyer boyfriend, she thought she had me trapped, but she was the one walking straight into a disaster. Jessica had spent months preparing for this divorce. She had a top-tier divorce lawyer, a fake abandonment narrative ready to go, financial records showing she contributed to our household. But there was one thing she forgot: the prenup. Signed, notarized, ironclad. Jessica had been so confident she could take everything from me that she completely forgot she had legally agreed to walk away with nothing. And when my lawyer reminded me of this fact, I actually laughed. At this point, I had proof of her cheating, proof of her planning to steal from me. A prenup that completely shut down her claims. But if I confronted her too early, she'd find a way to spin it. So I played dumb. I acted like I had no idea. When she came home late from yoga, I smiled and asked how her class was. When she booked a weekend trip with her friends, I kissed her goodbye and said, "Have fun, babe." I let her keep digging her own grave. And when she finally served me divorce papers, I signed them with a smile. Jessica thought she had won. She thought she had trapped me. She had no idea what was waiting for her in court. Jessica walked into the courthouse like it was a victory parade. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't even pretending to be neutral. She was smiling. To her, this wasn't just a divorce hearing. It was her payday. I sat across the room, calm, composed, because I knew something she didn't. I knew that in less than an hour, her entire world was going to collapse. But Jessica? She thought she had already won. I had wondered the same thing. How could Jessica, who spent months scheming, forget about something as critical as a prenup? The answer? She didn't exactly forget. She just thought it didn't matter. And I later found out why. In the months leading up to the trial, Jessica had been working closely with Matt, her lawyer boyfriend. And as I discovered from text messages and recorded conversations, Matt had been hyping her up, telling her she had nothing to worry about. Prenups get thrown out all the time. Judges don't like them. We'll make the case that you signed under duress. That was their plan. They were going to argue that Jessica didn't understand what she was signing. She was pressured into it. It was unfair and should be invalidated. Jessica believed it. She had so much faith in Matt that she didn't even bother to check the prenup herself. She thought she was one step ahead. She had no idea that Matt was about to be the reason she lost everything. Jessica's attorney, a middle-aged guy named Robert Graham, stood up first. He walked to the front of the courtroom with total confidence. "Your Honor, my client has been left financially stranded due to Mr. Wilson's selfish actions. She dedicated years of her life to supporting his business, only to be cast aside when it became successful." I almost laughed. Jessica never lifted a finger to help my business. But Robert wasn't done. She gave up career opportunities, she provided emotional support, she maintained the home so that Mr. Wilson could focus on work. Jessica nodded along, as if this were all some grand truth. The judge, an older woman with a no-nonsense expression, listened carefully. Then Robert got to the numbers. "As compensation for her contributions to the marriage, my client is requesting..." And then came the list of demands. Half my business, alimony for life, the house. Jessica sat back in her chair, arms crossed, waiting for the judge to agree. She even glanced at me, smirking. Like this was just a formality. Like this money was already hers. I didn't react, because I was waiting. I was waiting for my lawyer to drop the bomb. My lawyer, Daniel Carter, stood up slowly. He walked to the center of the room, flipping through his file. Then, in a calm, steady voice, he said, "Your Honor, before you consider these demands, I'd like to present some information that was left out." The judge turned to him, interested. Jessica's smirk faltered slightly. Proceed. Daniel picked up a single sheet of paper and placed it in front of the judge. This is a signed, notarized prenuptial agreement between Mr. Wilson and Mrs. Wilson. The entire courtroom went silent. Jessica's face dropped. I could see it in her eyes. Panic. Her lawyer whipped his head toward her. You never mentioned a prenup. Jessica opened her mouth, but no words came out. Because for the first time today, she realized she was in serious trouble. But Daniel wasn't finished. He pulled out a USB drive. Your Honor, my client has also provided evidence that Mrs. Wilson was not only unfaithful, but that she actively conspired to defraud him in this divorce. Jessica's entire body tensed. The judge narrowed her eyes. Explain. Daniel walked to the court's video monitor. The screen flickered on. Jessica shook her head violently. No, this is private. The judge held up a hand. Quiet. Then she pressed play, and suddenly the entire courtroom could hear Jessica's voice. Jessica. Once I get half his business, we're set. We'll have enough to move wherever we want. Jessica's breathing turned erratic. People in the courtroom murmured. Then the second clip played. Jessica and Matt. Jessica. It doesn't matter. Once we're married, it'll all be ours anyway. Jessica's hands flew to her mouth. I swear the judge's face actually twitched in disgust. Mr. Graham, do you have a response to this? Jessica's lawyer stood frozen. Then, he simply closed his briefcase. Your Honor, my client will be withdrawing her financial claims. Jessica whipped around in horror. What? No. You said we could invalidate the prenup. Robert, not with this evidence. We can't. Jessica's face went ghost white. She turned to the judge, hands shaking. Your Honor, please, I didn't mean. Judge. Cutting her off. I've heard enough. The gavel slammed down. All financial claims are dismissed. Prenuptial agreement stands. Divorce finalized. Mrs. Wilson walks away with nothing. And just like that, Jessica lost. Jessica didn't move. She sat there, stunned, humiliated, completely broken. She had spent months planning this. She thought she had it all figured out. And in less than 5 minutes, it was over. She didn't get a penny. Not from my business, not from my house, not from my bank accounts, nothing. She had gambled everything and lost.